Hi, everyone. I hope you're all enjoying our real estate forum. My name is Catherine Kalergis, and I'm a senior reporter and residential bureau chief at The Real Deal. We're covering the residential brokerage business, my favorite beat. It's no secret that these past couple of years have brought some challenges. The National Association of Realtors is under fire. This year, NAR settled the landmark Sitzer-Burnett case in which NAR Home Services and Keller Williams were found liable for conspiring to inflate commissions. In August, changes to how buyers' brokers work with their clients, how they get paid, went into effect. The settlement is scheduled to be finalized in court later this month. Now, NAR's clear cooperation policy is also under fire. The rule, passed in 2020, requires agents list homes on the MLS within 1 day of public marketing. I'm happy to introduce our experts today. We have Mike Pappas, CEO of the Kai's Company. Woohoo! Beth Butler, Senior Regional Director of Operations and Marketing at Compass. The Compass fan club is here, which is good.
We love it.
And Jason Haber, co-founder of the American Real Estate Association. Mike, when we were speaking before, you said that now the seller and the buyer are both forced to recognize the value that brokers bring. What effects have the recent changes had on the industry, and how do you each view them?
How many of you think that we managed that process pretty well? Do you feel pretty good about it? Congratulations. I said it was like Y2K a little bit. We had all this anticipation, and then we've been able to manage through it very well. I think what we found, what you all found, is that we really have value to the buyers, and we're able to articulate that now and put us in position to be able to show our value and get our compensation both now from the buy side and from the sell side. So we've actually seen an increase in value for both sides of it, and we've seen a cooperation that is continuing similar to what did before, but we're facing it up front rather than maybe hiding behind our value compensation historically.
And what do you think, Beth?
No, I agree with Mike, and I hope you don't mind. I'm going to steal your Y2K because that's an amazing analogy.
The young people don't know what Y2K was, but I mean,
But I feel like it was a great reason for everybody to kind of double back down, talk about your value in working with buyers. I think that even people that had value didn't know how much they were actually contributing until you went through the exercise of writing it down, learning how to enumerate it, and talk to your buyers about it. So overall, I think it's been a very positive change and really hasn't affected the business other than improve it in any significant way.
Jason, what do you think about the changes?
Well, listen, change is afoot in the industry. It's one of the reasons why we started the American Real Estate Association. We're looking at it a different perspective from the trade group, but we're excited about what the future is once we start to make all the changes we want to make. I mean, just show you just a quick example. By a show of hands, how many people in this room are members of NAR? Okay, almost every hand goes up. That's our challenge. So here's the opportunity. Of those same people, raise your hand again if you would be a member of NAR if you didn't have to pay dues to them. Okay, so a handful, usually it's about 80% of the hands go down. I think that's what it was here now. That's the opportunity that we have now is in this changing environment.
What are some of the challenges that come with starting a new trade group?
Well, like you saw, all the hands in this room went up. So not everyone knows this, but NAR is the largest trade group in America, the biggest political contributor in America. They are the biggest trade group in the United States. And so when you're starting as a rival group, as a nonprofit, so we have no investors, everything we do is for the benefit of our members, of which I know there's a bunch here. Thank you, everyone who's joined so far. To break through takes a lot of effort. Everything we do is organic. My partner, who's incredible, Mauricio Yamansky, is here with us today somewhere. Mauricio, I know you're there. There he is. So what we've done, I think, in just a few months is extraordinary because so many people around the industry have signed up with us, have joined us because they want something different. They want the industry to change. If you don't think the industry needs to change, I don't know. There's a rock, you can climb under it. I don't know what to tell you. Most people I talk to say something has gone wrong in the industry and it's time to change it. And we're leading the effort for that.
Mike.
Thank you.
Jason, could you be a little bit more passionate? I mean, you're kind of laid back.
Listen, they have all this coffee here back there, you know. How many cups are you going to give me?
Yes, Catherine.
I was going to ask you and Beth, what do you think about the future of NAR?
Yeah, we always say everybody's for progress, but nobody's for change. I'm been in the business. I'm an SOB, son of the broker, and been in the business a long time, 44 years. We've got 3,000 associates. We do about $8 billion in South Florida. And when I say that, I've never been more excited about our industry and our future than I am today. You have AI that's dramatically going to change how we work and play. You've got maybe a decoupling from the NAR and the MLS and who controls the data. But what we found through all these things, which is really your concern, I've never been more certain of the personal relationships and the one-on-one that you bring, the value that the agents bring, and I haven't seen that be broken. So I think you guys are in for a ride of your life, just like we did when the internet came in 25 years ago, just like we did when Zillow came. There's been lots of changes that we've seen, and I think the next decade or two will continue to bring lots of changes, and we'll be seeing some exciting things happening. It won't look like it did today, but you'll still be at the forefront, in the center, and that's what we believe, and that's what we're banking on.
What do you need as brokerage owners and executives? What do you need from these trade groups? What would you like to see?
I guess I'll start. I think for NAR, even for local association, state association, I think just like we had to go through and define our value in this latest change, they've got to define theirs. In a world where you don't have to use the MLS or they decouple the MLS away from the trade association, what is your real value? What are we looking for? For me, one of the top things that I think they've always done well and will continue to need is that place to go to arbitrate disputes. The board has always done that very well. Professional standards, ethics, a lot of that comes code of ethics from NAR. These are all important tenements of this association that kind of get the back seat now because of NAR. But I think if we focus on what they do really well, separate and apart from having control of a database, that's where the real value is, and that's what brokers are looking for. We need things. There's an opportunity with Jason and his group, but that's it. The core things that you look for at a trade association: ethics, guidelines, help us do better at what we do.
And I would say voice of the realtors with lobbying, changing the laws. They've done a lot of things behind the scene for us, tax advantages, benefits, and so I do think collectively as a group, our voice is a lot stronger together than it is separately.
And if I can just add one thing, I feel like now more than ever, because of affordability primarily, home ownership is slipping away from an entire generation of buyers. NAR has always been at the front of the importance of home ownership, and it is. I mean, we talk about this all the time. We're old now, so we can look back and say the best thing we ever did was invest in real estate. Yeah, I'm much older than Mike, but you look back. Looking forward is very different than looking back. You do things as you're moving along things. You buy a house, you need a place to live, whatever. You don't realize what a great investment these houses that you've lived in have been for you. And to think that there's so many people now that this is out of reach for, we need our association to keep these things front and center and keep home ownership part of the value proposition in everybody's life.
You know, the average net worth of a renter is $10,000, and there's 1/3 of the population in the United States that are renters. The average worth of a homeowner is $350,000, and where do you think most of the money is? So what you're doing, I think, is transforming communities and the goodwill that we do in really overall education, schools, community, and culture, I think makes a big difference. So you're in a great profession, in my opinion.
Compass and its CEO, Robert Refkin, have been pretty outspoken about getting rid of clear cooperation. Over 5,000 agents signed an American Real Estate Association petition calling for changes to the policy. What are the pros and cons, and what changes would you all like to see?
Is there anything? Well, first of all, I don't know if anyone in the room has signed our petition. Over 5,000 agents around the country did. And our position has been a one-size-fits-all policy in 2024 is out of date. And I think like a lot of our policies in our industry, we just accepted them year after year, decade after decade. This is just the way things are. And so we've come along and we've said, why? And Is there a better way moving forward? And so, look, clear cooperation is part of a conversation. In 2024, 2025, should we have a one-size-fits-all policy that dictates how listings are listed, when listings are listed, where listings are listed? I think that's a conversation, and I think that there are room to grow and room for our industry to innovate so we don't have conflicts of interest with our own clients, so we don't violate fiduciary responsibilities, so we're responsible to the marketplace. These are the conversations that we need to have, and we can't be afraid to have them.
Yeah, and if I can just chime in, like, first of all, I think that it's high time that we let our sellers have a seat in the table and how their property is marketed and listed. So if a seller says, I don't want to go in the MLS for 2 weeks, but I want to put it on the market quietly, take pictures, make sure we're at the right price, make sure we're ready to launch, that should be his prerogative, and some arbitrary rules shouldn't be in our way. So let's just start there. That's number one. Number two, I also feel like it's 2024. Our average sales price, at least at Compass in Florida now, is $1.7 million. We're not talking about $500 a deal. I was thinking about when I worked at Kai's. Guys, I started my career at Kai's company with Mike as my broker. So it's a full circle moment.
What we created? I mean,
Yeah, and I owe it all to you. But we used to think a big deal was being in the $1 million sales club. We were like, this is what you work for all year, to be in the $1 million sales club. You'd have to sell 12, 15 properties a year just to make the $1 million sales club. Now you could do that in half a sale. So the commissions are greater, the value proposition is greater, and I think our approach to listing property in particular needs to be a little bit more sophisticated and nuanced. We can't do the 3 Ps anymore. We can't put a sign in, put it in the MLS, and pray that it sells. I think that was great for a time, and that worked for a time, but it's 2024. You're earning a 6-figure commission. I'm not sure that's the way to approach it. So allow us to be more strategic. Allow us to be more thoughtful with our sellers. Allow us to show what we know and how we do, and not just say the only way we can sell your property is to maximize its exposure, putting it on every syndication site, making it available to anyone. That doesn't maximize the value. Finding the right people and approaching them in the right way and creating interest in that narrow corridor is how you maximize value. And that's a strategy many agents are doing. And private exclusive and clear cooperation has to be a part of that. It's just an integral part of that.
I don't want to be the flip side of that coin.
Go ahead.
But I do think you need to hear the other side, because if you take clear cooperation away, you're basically going to break down the system of fairness, equality. It's ripe for disadvantaging certain classes of people, for not allowing people to have access that other people have access. And so I don't know what the government's going to say about that when they're trying to commoditize our business. And we believe maximum exposure for the price is, maximum price is what the sellers mainly want, which I've never met a seller that didn't want to get the maximum price. And historically, maximum exposure gives them maximum price. When I exclude, I eliminate, I hold, I vest pocket, I don't allow others to have access, I think that it disadvantages the seller dramatically and gives an advantage to certain people more above. We have a fiduciary as realtors to do what's best for our clients at their calling. Now, I understand certain clients may want that, but I believe that's the exception, not the rule. And if you make the rule for all, I think you may start breaking the whole system down, and we'll be like a Europe or a England where you can't get access. You have to go there, and it's a very fragmented, very poorly run, not a very streamlined business. So that's the flip of the other coin.
I hear you, Mike, but I guess I'll say I think as an industry we've grown. Our agents are smarter than that. I don't think they're going to go out and work at their client's disadvantage. I just don't. I see too many great agents that know how to nuance the market and do what's best. Putting in the MLS might be the right thing for certain things, but not for everybody. Give them a choice. Let them be the boss. Didn't we just talk about defining their value? Do we have to do it for them? I don't think so.
Mike, your face says
not an easy decision, and it's very complicated.
Back to brokerage. The brokerage business is a high volume, low profit business. Turnover is high. What are some of the challenges you're dealing with today?
Yeah, I mentioned I've grown up in the business. My dad was in the business, and since for all my life, basically. And it's a high volume, low profit business.
I did take that from our call, by the way.
What?
I took that from our call.
Yeah, that's right. So it's a high volume, low profit business, and so it's unless you have volume and size to be able to build a culture, to be able to offer the technology and the services. I think it's a very difficult. My daughter's involved. She's president of our company. She's involved in the National Association of Realtors. We just settled the lawsuit. We were one of the few that actually had to come out of pocket and pay. I know Maurice did also. And so it's not an easy business all the way around. I do think you have to have a love for the business, and you have to have a culture that cares. And we believe we're helping our people maximize their full potential. So if you can find the leverage, the size, and be able to compete and offer all the services that the customer wants, I think there's value. We think that there's added services, mortgage, title, insurance, that are help supplementing, because if we raised your hands in there, how many of you are on a 50-50 split? You know, those are the days of old. And so as you get more higher splits, there's got to be more offerings, and we have to do volume and size. Otherwise, you can't compete. So that's why I do think it's a very challenging business. And thus Wall Street, we just saw, took a bath because of the cycles in the business. And so if you're not in this business for the long term, then you have to sometimes make decisions for the short term that may not be best for you in the long term. So I think it's going to be interesting to see the future of our industry, but I think consolidation will be key.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I'll just add, I think consolidation is a big message right now, especially as the market starts to flatten a little bit. You know, the cycles in the market can really affect a small profit margin business, as you might imagine. So seeing those cycles, preparing for those cycles, and, you know, like they used to say, right-sizing your business during those cycles is very important. And that's hard to do when you start to get at size, right, and scale. So I think the additional challenge is we all want to grow. We all understand growing is super important, but the challenge is to be flexible, manageable, make those turns and those changes quickly. Becomes harder and harder the bigger and bigger you get. So always keeping the agent in the front, making sure you keep your agent happy, because the other side of growth is retention. So you've got to keep the agents you have happy, engaged, doing more business. Technology helps. AI will help. Great management, all those things that you guys value in your offices, that's just as important. But trying to figure out where can you save a nickel, save a dime to make sure you're not shorting the agent and the service you provide.
And something we're looking at our association is this idea of standards and the low barrier to entry that exists in the industry. You know, Mike said it earlier, the importance of owning a home and what it means for your own net worth. But the person who handles that transaction means that they're responsible for the largest transaction, the most important transaction of that person's life. Yet, in some states, 30 days and 2 weeks, you can get your license and you're off to the races. But if I wanted to sell you stock, well, I just can't do that in 15 or 30 days. I have to go through coursework. I have to take standardized tests. The barrier to entry in our industry is very low. And the problem with that is, everyone in here is a professional. It's why you're here. But you're saddled with the person who's not a professional, with the person who gets their license, goes, oh, I'm going to get my license because it's easy and I can sell. They bring our industry down. They hurt our industry and they hurt our reputation. And you know why? Thank you. And you know why no one talks about this enough? Because we are the only industry in this country that has a trade group that is mandatory membership. More members, more people getting their license equals more members for a trade group. But is it better for you? No. Is it better for the consumer? No. It's time for this paradigm to change. And that's why we're advocating to raise standards, focus on what's best for the consumer and the agent instead of what's best for a certain trade association.
I'll give you the numbers for South Florida. There's 125,000 sales, and there's 100,000 licenses.
I mean, that's insane. You have 100,000 agents chasing 125,000 deals.
There's two sides to the sales, so there's 250,000
Sure.
sides.
But like, if you're here, you've paid money to come to an event, You're looking to excel professionally. You're the professionals that should be going after the deals here. But you've got to compete with everyone else out there on the street who has a license. That's not right. That's not good for the consumer who's putting their faith and trust in you. Is it any wonder why our industry has a lower rating than the used car salesman in terms of public approval?
Jeez. Jason, easy now. Come on. I mean,
let's think about it.
With the best of the best here.
It's not because of the folks in this room. It's because it's just too easy to get a license, and we need to change that.
So the numbers are really 20% of the licensees do 80% of the business, and I think you who are here are in that group because you're investing your time, you're seeing the developers. I was even thinking about that with the compensation changes. Every one of these developers is paying 3%, 4%, 5%, and 6%. And so the homeowner, why wouldn't he do the same thing that these developers? They got the brand, they've got the marketing, they got the network, but they find the value in attracting you to their business just like a homeowner will. So give yourselves a round of applause because I think you're exceeding your way here.
It's also, I mean, there's a low barrier to entry. If you Beth, you had said if you and Mike wanted to start a brokerage today, you could just do it, right?
I could.
I wouldn't.
But yeah, that's a hell no. Thank you.
A lot of South Florida brokerages have expanded, beyond the Tri-County region, Palm Beach, Miami-Dade, Broward County. Compass and Kai's have been doing that. Are you still in growth mode, and how have these acquisitions changed?
Yeah, I think again, for us, we are an independent firm surrounded by some public companies, and we think we have a culture of care. We have a community. We give back to our community. I think we care about our associates. We have longevity with many of our associates, and 100 million, 150. So our goal is we have to grow. Tomorrow, I'm actually going to the West Coast. My daughter has a vision of becoming an independent, family-owned and operated statewide firm, and we're closing on a deal in Sarasota this weekend. So I thought that was kind of exciting to see. I don't know if it's going to work. We got some debates internally because of the localness of it. So we do think if you don't grow, you'll die. And so either you have to grow and continue to grow just because of the margins, but also creating the culture, having the technology, having the services, having the management, just what you said, and building what we call a family within our organization. And we think that works. At the end of the day, you can't offer all those services and have those bells and whistles unless you have size and scale. So I think you're going to continue to see it. What we're seeing is a generational shift. I'm a baby boomer. I happen to be a son, but there's a lot of us that are in their 60s and 70s that had firms that maybe the next generation are coming. And I think you're going to see a big shift. And I think some of these light companies that are high fees, no services in a flat market with not appreciation, it'll be interesting to see these public companies. So I think we're in a real shift for the future on what it will look like and what the dynamics will change. And it's going to be quite exciting.
Yeah, I'll just add, listen, it's a fascinating business. All the new business models that come in, there's no one way to succeed, but the one common denominator across the board is growth. So again, I got this from Mike's dad, Ted Pappas, who was a legend. I mean, really, he really was. And I said, all this time later, I still hear him in my ear. That is a gift. So, but he says, if you're not growing, you're dying. And that's true. I think you guys look at your business the exact same way. You look at a flat market, and this is when good companies and good businesses do better. So consolidation, as we go in a flat market, good companies will continue to grow, just like good agents will do more business in a down market. There's more opportunity because you sort of weed out a lot of the people that got their license 5 minutes ago. They can't compete. So in those markets, in these flat markets, we see opportunity. You see opportunity. It's the exact same thing. You grow your business the same way we do. If we're not growing, we're dying. So we're always in a growth mode. You have to be in order to be able to be in this business. Maybe not in every business, but certainly for this. Every company has to grow. Anybody that says, no, I'm fine with my 5 agents isn't going to be around in 10 years.
I also want to address the South Florida market specifically. We've seen obviously a decline in condo sales, and after the deadly Surfside collapse in 2021, the legislature passed laws that make it more expensive to live in these communities, to maintain that, requires that they be maintained. What are your, condo sales are down in the double digits. What are your biggest concerns, and what are you hearing from your agents who primarily do these deals?
How many are in the condo market? Let me see your hands. Yeah, my heart goes out to you, because I think if it's an older building, we're in a dramatic transition of change, and we're paying the price for the sins of yesterday. The fact that our government, the Florida, allowed these condominiums to not have reserves. We were one of 3 states not to have reserves, and now they have to build reserves. And then with the Champlain crisis, now you're having to do all the fixings. So whenever there's cost that rises, there's then values that drop. It's just how it works. So I think the pain is now that we're going through for some of these 4 stories older buildings. Once we get through this pain, every condo will be financeable. Every condo will be Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. You can get in with 3% down. If we talk about a housing crisis of pricing, many of these will be entry level for the new owners. And so I do think past a year or 2, once we digest this pain, I think we'll come on the backside and see some growth and see some opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's challenging. I think we're in an area that we're booming with new condos, which are coming at a certain price. The old condos are struggling. And we've seen this before, right? We've seen these cycles. We were in the, I know it. We were in the 80s. We saw the condo adjustment on Brickell. We saw what that happened. Fees get too high. Values will adjust. And whether that means a developer comes in, buys out the building, knocks it down, starts all over again, or the price come down, people, entry level, things turn over, and it builds back. We've seen it happen. Now, like Mike said, is a painful time. This adjustment doesn't feel good when you're talking to a seller that can no longer afford to live in their building. That doesn't, it just doesn't work that way. But once you get on the other side, there'll be relief again. It'll be good again. It'll build itself back up. And hopefully we don't have to go through a crisis like the one we're going through now with insurance the next time around.
You've got condo listings, I'd be very aggressive on your pricing, it's going to be a struggle to sell it. And so you're going to find the motivated sellers or not, and you're going to reset pricing. In Brickell, we talked about Brickell in 2005, prices were $400. In 2009, they were $200, but then they went back to $800, $600. So we have had a cycle of boom-bust pricing in condos that we've never seen in South Florida for single-family homes. The only time we saw single-family homes was in that 08, but the rest of the times it's gone flat. We're probably in a flat pricing market. We've been saved by price. Units are down, prices are up, so you're feeling not great, but you're feeling better. But now in the future, prices are going to probably be flat. Hopefully, now that we know who's the president and doing everything else, that's behind us and there's confidence moving forward, we're going to start seeing units go up. And so that may save us a little along the way. So I think the expertise of managing listings today is imperative. If you're not good at managing, communicating to your clients on a weekly basis, giving them stats, showing them where they list in, and being aggressive, you can't be an ostrich putting your head in the sand and hoping it sells. You need to be squawking like a parakeet to them and get them motivated to sell, to be able to position them well. So it's a whole dynamic change of what we just went through. The ride of our life in 21 is gone. Now it's going to be real expertise and communication and value that you're going to have to offer.
Okay, so expertise, squawk like a parakeet. Any other advice?
And we will ride again.
All right, great. Well, I want to thank our speakers for being here.
Thank you.